A Roman worker hurried through the streets before sunrise. He had done this countless times before. His wife needed flour. His children needed bread. Like thousands of others, he headed toward the marketplace expecting another ordinary day. Instead, he found a crowd. People pushed forward, demanding answers from merchants. Bakers stood outside their shops with worried expressions. Buyers waved coins in the air, hoping someone would sell them food. The grain ships had not arrived. At first, that might not sound like a disaster. A delayed shipment happens all the time. But this was Rome, and Rome had a problem unlike any city on earth. Nearly 1 million people lived there. Every morning, those people expected food to appear in markets, bakeries, and homes across the city. Most never wondered where it came from. Most never thought about the farmers, sailors, merchants, warehouse workers, and officials working behind the scenes. They simply expected bread to be available when they needed it. Yet hidden behind every loaf was a system so vast and complicated that the future of the city depended on it. Because Rome could not feed itself. That created a dangerous question. If one of the largest cities in history could not produce enough food for its own people, how did it survive? And what happened when that system was threatened? To answer that question, we need to understand something about Rome. When people imagine the Roman Empire, they usually think of soldiers marching across distant lands. They picture gladiators fighting before enormous crowds. They imagine emperors living in magnificent palaces. But none of those things mattered if people were hungry. An army cannot fight without food. A city cannot function without food. An empire cannot survive without food. And Rome needed an incredible amount of it. Every day, bakers transformed mountains of grain into bread. Families crowded markets searching for fresh supplies. Restaurants served meals to workers. Animals consumed additional resources. The city had become a giant living machine that never stopped eating. The real problem was just beginning. The land surrounding Rome could produce food, but not enough. The city had grown too large. Each year, more people arrived seeking opportunity. Merchants came to trade. Craftsmen came to work. Former soldiers settled nearby. Families expanded. Apartment buildings filled entire neighborhoods. The population continued growing. That growth brought wealth and power. It also brought dependence. Rome increasingly relied on food produced hundreds of miles away. A poor harvest near the city was bad. A disruption far across the Mediterranean could be even worse. The fate of Rome was becoming connected to distant provinces most citizens would never see. One of those places was Egypt. Imagine standing on the banks of the Nile River. Fields stretch toward the horizon. Farmers harvest grain beneath the hot sun. Boats move along the water carrying crops toward collection points. To local farmers, this was daily life. To Rome, it was survival. Egypt produced enormous quantities of grain. Year after year, ships loaded with wheat departed for Roman territory. Their cargo was not glamorous. Nobody celebrated wheat the way they celebrated gold. Yet gold could not feed a hungry city. Wheat could. That made grain one of the empire's most valuable resources. But acquiring the grain was only the first challenge. The next challenge was moving it. Picture a merchant vessel crossing the Mediterranean Sea. Its wooden hull creaks with every wave. Sails strain against the wind. Below deck sits a cargo capable of feeding thousands of people. Then dark clouds begin gathering on the horizon. The captain studies the sky. Sailors exchange nervous looks. Everyone aboard understands the danger. A storm at sea could destroy the ship. Months of work could disappear beneath the waves. The grain would never reach Rome, and that was only one threat. Pirates still operated in some regions. Political conflicts disrupted trade routes. Accidents occurred. Ships sank. Cargo was lost. Every journey carried risks. Yet Rome depended on those journeys. What happened next changed everything. The Roman Empire began creating systems designed to keep food moving toward the capital. Ports expanded, warehouses grew larger, officials monitored supplies, merchants coordinated deliveries, workers unloaded cargo arriving from distant shores. The city needed more than food, it needed reliability. Imagine standing at a major Roman port as ships arrive. Sailors shout instructions. Dock workers carry sacks of grain across wooden ramps. Carts rattle through crowded streets. Dust fills the air. Everywhere people move with urgency. They know delays can create problems. Every shipment matters. Every sack counts. Once the grain reached storage facilities, another challenge appeared. The food had to be protected. Grain sitting in warehouses faced threats from moisture, pests, and spoilage. Poor management could turn valuable supplies into waste. A city of 1 million people could not afford that kind of mistake, so Rome invested enormous effort into storing food safely. Yet even that was not enough. Food still had to reach ordinary citizens. Bakers needed supplies, markets needed inventory, families needed access. The grain could not simply sit in warehouses. It had to keep moving, day after day, week after week, year after year. Then something unexpected happened. The success of Rome's food system created new expectations. Citizens came to view reliable food supplies as normal. Bread appeared in markets. Bakeries remained stocked. Life continued. Few people thought about the machinery operating behind the scenes. Few realized how fragile the system could be, because all it took was one serious disruption to expose the danger. A failed harvest, a major storm, political instability, a shipping crisis. Any one of these problems could place enormous pressure on the city. Suddenly, food prices could rise. Crowds could become anxious. Officials could face criticism. The threat was never completely gone. Rome had built one of the greatest supply chains in the ancient world, but maintaining it required constant effort. Every season brought new challenges. Every shipment carried risk. Every delay mattered. Yet despite those obstacles, Rome succeeded for centuries. Millions of tons of grain crossed seas. Countless workers participated in the process. An enormous city remained fed. That achievement rarely receives the same attention as military victories or famous emperors. But without it, many of those victories would never have been possible. Rome's greatest strength was not only its armies. It was its ability to solve an everyday problem on a massive scale. Feeding people. The story of Rome reminds us of something that remains true today. Great cities are built on systems most people never notice. Supermarkets appear full. Restaurants serve meals. Deliveries arrive on schedule. Everything seems normal until the system stops working. Rome understood that lesson thousands of years ago. 1 million people depended on distant fields, dangerous sea voyages, and an enormous network of workers they would never meet. Keeping that system alive was one of the greatest challenges in ancient history. And for centuries, Rome managed to do it.